I didn't even know that people knew the modifiers yet. So like, look, if we have neutral, how good can we do? Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick2, and as you saw in the intro clip, I finally made a decent boss build for Amara. This would be even better if I had some other pieces that I will get into, and I would like to preface this with saying that this build is to an extent gear reliant, not too gear reliant, but if you have the right pieces, it's going to make a significant increase in how efficiently you're able to farm bosses, etc., and how good this build is actually going to end up being. I'll go over a lot of things that I could have. The reason I don't have them is because this is my third level 50, and I've just been spending time leveling up the characters, grinding through the campaign, so I have all the slots unlocked, and I just haven't had time to farm. So I'll definitely explain everything that you can get. Before I jump into everything, if this video helps you out, please make sure to drop a like, and follow me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Nick2, and if you want to help support for free, check if you have a Twitch Prime sub. That'll help me out a ton. Alright, getting into everything. So the main things that I think that are important for this build is one, having a Berserker class mod. This is going to give you rush stacks, which are going to increase your weapon damage whenever you use an action skill. This is pretty much just going to correlate to you doing a ton of additional weapon damage, which is really, really strong. So I definitely try to get a Berserker mod. If anybody wants to help trade each other for a lot of this gear, by the way, comment down below. I'm sure a lot of you guys could do some trading because, like I said, there's a lot of different pieces of gear that are good for this build. So maybe you guys can help each other down in the comments. Another thing that you really want is any relic that is going to give you a damage boost of an element when you're suffering that elemental effect. So pretty much what you want to do is purposely make yourself take damage from a certain type of element, and then use a corresponding element of whatever you're taking damage from to just gain a whole bunch of extra damage. As you saw me do in the intro clip, I shot myself with this gun, which does both corrosive and incendiary damage. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that you can use. I actually don't really like using this because sometimes it won't actually make me take incendiary damage. It'll make me only take corrosive. But pretty much the idea is to just make yourself take ticking damage and then use that same gun. Flesh is typically going to be the best for the majority of the bosses, so I would try to get something that makes you take ticking fire damage, and then you would just use a fire gun and you're gaining 183% extra damage, which is pretty crazy. There's a lot of different nades and different guns you can use to just like pretty much shoot yourself with. If you guys have any recommendations for other stuff that is very good for doing that, please leave them down in the comments. I'd recommend using a gun that is under leveled as well, since it's not going to do as much damage, so you're not really at risk of killing yourself. A level 1 gun would be perfect if possible. Obviously, it's kind of difficult to do that. This is not ideal because it makes me take a lot of damage, and like I said, it doesn't always apply the fire effect, but hey, it is what it is. It's the best thing that I've got. There are some other things that you can use. I just don't have them on hand. So you definitely want to use this. 180% damage is absolutely huge, and then a Berserker class mod is really good as well. Another thing you would want is a shield with the augment effect that after you use an action skill, it's going to increase your damage. Anything like that, even maybe after using your phase slam, you gain increased damage. Anything like that is going to help you out a ton here. I don't even have one because it's hard to get good augmented stuff, and I haven't played Amara for that long, so I don't have a whole bunch of augmented stuff. But that would be really good. In terms of your nade, don't really worry about it. Pretty much anything that is going to help you, maybe you want a nade that, will make you take fire damage or something like that, but otherwise I wouldn't really worry about it too much. In terms of guns, so far the best thing that I've used is the Cutsman. This pretty much just melts the shit out of the boss because the damage is just so high. Any boss that has a crit spot that's very easy to hit, the Cutsman is just going to absolutely melt them, such as Grave Ward. King's Call is also pretty good for Grave Ward. Not perfect, but it's still pretty decent if you're able to just melt the crit spot. Again, if you guys have any other gun recommendations for Amara that are very good at killing bosses effectively very quickly, please leave them in the comments. But so far, Cutsman is what I've been able to succeed the most with. That's pretty much the main components of this build, is kind of just trying to stack a lot of weapon damage through your Berserker class mod, and then make sure you do a lot of extra elemental damage by making sure that you suffer damage from an element. Other than that, we'll just go into, you know, how I have my build set up. I'm sure there's a few different ways that you can do this, and I've been trying to do testing while streaming today, just figuring out, you know, what I want to do here. But the main thing is, I'm pretty sure you want to go all the way down into Avatar so that you're gaining additional rush stacks, meaning that you're gaining additional weapon damage from your Berserker class mod. I'm not 1,000,000% sure that it actually does work like this, because it does say on action skill use you gain your max rush stack count, but as you can see when I use my ability on the bottom there, I only actually get 24 of Violent Tapestry, and my inclination is that Violent Tapestry is correlated to how many rush stacks you currently have at the moment, and as you can see that didn't get maxed out, so then improving your max rush stacks wouldn't help if you're not actually maxing it. I don't know if that's how that works or not. Regardless though, going down into this tree is good anyways, and I'll explain why. So first off, getting reload speed is really nice by default, but Violent Tapestry is also pretty good if you're getting rush stacks, because it's going to increase your chance of applying a status effect, and increasing your chance of applying a status effect with a gun like Cutsman, which has 3,000 damage per chance. That's a lot of extra damage. Oh, I almost forgot. Holy shit, I'm so sorry. Getting an anointed gun, such as on action skill and weapon damage, is increased by 100%. Very, very good. Or getting a gun that increases, like this one, on action skill and weapon status effect damage and chance are increased by 75% for a short time. That's going to make you do a ton of extra damage. So I would definitely try to get that. But you have to be just a lucky son of a bitch to get that. So good fucking luck. As you can see, I was able to kill a boss fine without that, so obviously I'd be killing it even faster if I were to have that gun. Anyways, increasing your chance, extra damage there. And then I just went into Transcend, increases your crit damage after you use your action skill. That's really good, especially when you're killing Grave Ward. I didn't know what else to go into because I wanted to try to get down here. I just put it into action skill cooldown rate, just to use my face cast more often, but it really doesn't matter. I went one to do harm, just so that I'm getting stacks out of this. I really don't know if this does anything. I mean, it just does action skill damage, and my face cast isn't really doing damage, so it doesn't really matter. You could say that going into Alacrity would be good, but I've done testing. This straight up does not work from my testing, so I just ignore it because, in my opinion, it literally doesn't do anything. I don't think it's worth going Ascendant. In terms of the augments I'm using just Phase Cast. You could use Phase Grasp just as well. I just am doing this just because it's the easiest thing to use. You can use Phase Cast, or Phase Grasp rather, and gain your rush stacks before the fight. I was just testing this before and wasn't noticing a damage increase, but if that works, feel free. I was using Phase Cast when in the video though. Then I went just 1 into From Rest for Fire Rate, and then 3 into Laid Bare, which is going to increase my damage by 25% after something gets damaged by my action skill, which is really good, because I'll just hit the boss with Phase Cast, and boom, it takes a whole bunch of extra damage. This is also very good. My damage is increased after I activate my action skill, so that's a total of 40% extra gun damage after I use Phase Cast. And then Awakening, increasing the effectiveness of my rush stacks, is pretty nice, especially if with Violent Tapestry. And then just went into Avatar for bonus rush stacks, and because it'll make me be able to use my Phase Cast twice. I don't have it up, so I can't show you, but on Grave Ward, I don't even use it twice. If you're fighting another boss, you can. The problem is that Grave Ward will like tilt the platform, and while that platform is tilted, you can't use your action skill. So I'm only ever able to gain one use of this. But I tried a different setup that isn't going for Avatar, and I noticed that my damage was lacking for whatever reason, and it could very well just be because of the rush stacking with the Berserker class mod. In this tree, I went 3 into Personal Space. This is just free damage pretty much, very strong. And I also went into Samsara. I don't think this is giving me that much extra damage, but to be honest, I didn't really have anywhere else to put my points because a lot of stuff ends up being not really too beneficial for boss damage. And here I went 3 into Steady Hands for increased accuracy, just cuz. I went 5 into Anima. You 100% want to do this because you're getting status effect, duration, and damage, which is just free damage pretty much. And then, of course, you want to go into Tempest, 30% elemental damage, even more damage if you're using Shock. You could decide to go into Dread, use Phase Grasp, and then maybe try to get into down here into Deep Well. I tried Indiscriminate, and I don't think that it actually works against bosses, so there you go. And then there isn't anything else worth going for in this tree far down. But I did, like I said though, I did try an orientation of the setup where I went further into this tree and I used Phase Grasp, and I just wasn't doing as much damage, and I couldn't lay my finger on it. The only thing I could guess was that it was missing out on the rush stacks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You can use any element you want and it will do okay. It just depends on the boss that you're fighting. I would definitely recommend using Fire or Shock. Shock, of course, is really good because you're gaining the extra damage from Shock here, 20%. But, you know, Fire is going to be super good against enemies that take flesh damage. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that this video helped. If it did, please be sure to drop a like. Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Nick2. Follow me on Twitter at Nick2YT. And yeah, comment below if you have any weapon suggestions, anointed ability suggestions, build setup suggestions, etc., etc. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Peace.